Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to a moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Music Madness segment, brought to you by OGPay.com, we're chatting with the insanely talented Julia Roome. At just 13 years old, she's the youngest competitor on this season's 24 of The Voice, currently on Team Niall Horan. She's performed in both off-Broadway play and regional plays. Julia is New York City based, affording her the options to make it in the big city. Keegan Farrell, a Voice season 20 contestant, noticed her on social media when her original EP reached number 9 on the iTunes chart, prompting him to work with her to continue building a portfolio of original music. Their first song together, titled Childhood, garnered a massive amount of attention and has the most streams to date. When Julia isn't singing, she's playing softball with her travel team. She's extremely competitive and was even an Olympic downhill ski racing hopeful before deciding to focus on her music. Today, she joins me in studio right here at iHeart headquarters in New York City, chatting being 13, music, career, and what it's like being a contestant on season 24 of The Voice. Welcoming now to the show is the incredibly talented Julia Roome. Welcome, superstar.
Hi, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you in studio. You're like my little baby. I've watched you grow. I've seen you flourish. This is such exciting times. So when I was not an iHeartRadio personality and you were not on The Voice, you were just barely 9 years old. I remember meeting you. We met in New York
Yes.
City when my former partner and friend Melanie and I had started the kids establishment. You were one of our first kiddos. And we coached and media trained you, but you were always performing and you were at it from a very young age. So what inspired you to want to pursue singing and acting?
I always knew ever since I was little I loved singing and I loved acting. It was just the matter of fact of getting me there and knowing how to start. So you were just like a big help in my career. And from there on, I just kept going at it. And I don't like to look at my failure. I don't like to give up. So I just kept going at it. And here I am today, and I'm super grateful.
You're here today because you put in the hours, you put in the work, you are determined, you persevere and you excel. Now, Gwen Stefani and Niall Horan both turned their chairs for you. Wow. You're you're the youngest competitor on the season of The Voice. How does it feel to be part of such a prestigious competition at such a young age? And how did you get on The Voice?
It's insane to think about it. I mean, I just went on a random casting calling of The Voice and I was just like, oh, let's try it out. And when I first auditioned, I was 12. So I couldn't even really legally be on the show. And then we found out later on after these callbacks that I was going to make the cutoff by a week. So I made the cutoff for the age. And then for Gwen and Niall to turn, it was just insane. I can't even wrap my head around it. And I'm just so grateful that I got to be here, especially since I'm so young. You know, I look at people's ages and I realize, wow, like I still have a whole new life ahead of me. This is really just the beginning for me.
The world is your oyster, my dear, and you are truly making it happen and paving the way for yourself quite nicely. Now, how did you select your audition song? I'd love to hear about that because even Melissa wants to know about that one. And can you tell us about your experience working with Niall as your coach on The Voice?
So, how I picked my audition song is I kind of just like thought of a list of songs that I really loved and I just kind of ranked them. And, you know, that song I just felt myself kept gravitating towards. I see it done, I've seen it done really good on the show before. It's been a good chair turn pleaser. So, I thought that was a good safe blanket for me. And this song has a really good story for a 13-year-old. And I just felt like
Tell
it
us tell
was
us
great.
the name of the song and the original EP and where it came from because people who have not seen your audition tape are dying to know.
Yes. So this song is called Dream a Little Dream of Me by Mamas and the Papas. It was originally performed by Cass Elliot, and I've just always loved their band. I always loved Cass Elliot, so I just found myself gravitating towards the song.
You're an old soul, kiddo. Now, now, can you tell me what it's like working with Niall?
Niall is amazing. Working with Niall is just something I wish I could do all the time. He's super sweet. He's very involved with his team for sure. And I think that's something that I really wanted going into this. And he's just a great pick, and I'm really glad that I picked him because I could not ask for a better coach.
Okay, let's talk about that. You picked him over Gwen. Now, every girl's dream would probably be to be picked by Gwen Stefani, yet you went with Niall Horan.
Yes.
Why?
There's so much that they don't show on TV. So in the moment, I just found myself gravitating towards him. I think, well, I know, young girls, they love Gwen Stefani, so I wasn't sure if I was really going to stick out on that team. I also know, like, Niall's, like, kind of in right now, so I was hoping his fan base would like me, which is happening, which I'm super grateful. And overall, I just felt like he was fighting for me a little bit harder, so I was just...
She gave you a great big hug. What are you talking about? She came out there and she gave you so much love.
She gave me so much love. I think there was also more of that factor of Niall was more of like an artist feel, while Gwen was more of the motherly feel, which either would have been fine.
You said it all. You didn't want mommy holding your hand. You wanted an artist to artist experience.
Yes,
well, I get it,
sure.
Julia. I get it. Now, well, that speaks volumes. That's a great explanation. Now,
Yes.
How many times have you heard the words no and you didn't get the part? And how did you rise to the occasion?
Well, being in this industry, you go out for a bunch of auditions, and if it's just acting, commercials, or singing gigs, they either say no to you or you just don't hear from them ever again. So going into those things, I would always do my best and try out, but you never really know what's going to happen. So going into The Voice, I did not expect anything, but coming out of it, it's just been a great opportunity. And I just rose to occasion because I realized I'm not getting those, gigs or acting things for a reason, because there's something that I'm missing. And I would just work at my craft and work at that.
You're so humble. Now, you play sports and have a pretty disciplined schedule. At least I knew that you had a very disciplined schedule. It may have changed since then. But what is your favorite sport, and are you still competing?
I'm no longer competing in sports right now, but I would say my favorite sport would probably be softball. It's just a great sport. You connect with your team. You cheer all the time. There's a lot of cheers, which I love doing singing. And overall, it's just really that cool high energy. It's kind of one man for itself, but together you're all a team.
I love your answers.
Thank you.
It's like your wise words by Julia Roome.
That should be a new podcast.
Exactly. Now, you have a background in both off-Broadway and regional plays. How has your experience in theater influenced your approach to music and performing?
My experience in theater has just helped me in so many ways, especially when performing. So they didn't air this, but the coaches say, like, I have this really cool Broadway theater tone. And I thought that was so special because only a few people have that, only a handful of people have that. And I've always been working with theater. It's always helped me with my stage presence, showing who I really am. And that's just something that I got to show on The Voice, and I'm just grateful for it.
You remind me of a young Lorna Courtney. Lorna Courtney is currently the lead in & Juliet on Broadway's Shakespeare's iteration of & Juliet. And she was in my class way before she got a Broadway placement contract. And I remember looking at her, and she graduated from LaGuardia and she went to Michigan. Incredible talent. And I looked at her and I said, Lorna, I'm going to see you on Broadway. And this year she opened & Juliet. And you remind me of her, but I found many of you. I'm feeling like there's a career path for me and just magically finding stars. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. Now being based in New York City provides so many opportunities. How has the city shaped your musical journey and style?
The city has helped me in many ways because, you go out for your birthday and you want to watch a Broadway show. So I've got to see a lot of people just show who they am, and that I use their characteristics and artistry into me. And then also just the city, you get that exposure of everything, especially like here, the iHeartRadio. So just everything. And I'm really grateful to have been grown up here.
Well, you also know some really cool people, Julia. I mean, it's not everybody that can just walk into iHeart headquarters and just have an interview at WOR, but you, my darling, are my little star. So,
Yes.
I'm always going to keep you close. Now, Keegan Farrell is a fellow contestant from The Voice season 20. Now we're on season 24. So he noticed you on social media. See the power of that. Can you share more about how your collaboration with Keegan came about and what was it like working together on Childhood?
So we first started, I was getting a following on Instagram because people were starting to notice me. And he kind of reached out to me, say, hey, like, I really like your stuff. At the time, he didn't know how young I was because he's never worked with a young artist. And I think I was 12 when we did Childhood. And this was a song I just loved. I wrote it so easily. I think sometimes, I mean, musicians and songwriters know when this happens. When you just write and you just can't stop writing because you just have a feeling so strong. This was my feeling for Childhood. And I sent it to him. He loved it. And overall, I met up in Nashville. We collaborated on it. And it's been one of my favorite songs I've ever written. And then after that, I went on The Voice, and we can connect with that as well.
All about connecting the dots and
Yes.
manifesting and making sure that you agree with the universe, right? You don't
Yes.
fight the universe. You go where there is no path. You leave a trail and you trust the process. Now,
Yes.
your Childhood has been a massive hit with lots of people listening to it. What inspired the song and what does it mean to you?
What inspired the song is, growing up as a 13-year-old girl or a teenage girl, there's always going to be certain body types that people, gravitate towards or people like. And sometimes I feel like I'm not like that, or, certain personalities that people like. Sometimes I think everybody feels different. So I think this was a song to me that I was so passionate about that I just had to write a story about it. And now being able to perform it everywhere, people have realized this is a story that they connect to as well. And it's been a great journey so far. I hope that it goes more because I love this song.
Well, you are very talented, and I think
Thank
the
you.
messages that you're sending out to the world and children your age or even adults listening to you, it's inspirational, if anything, but it's also extremely melodical. You have a very, very, very unique voice.
Thank
Now,
you.
balancing school and music career can be extremely challenging. How do you manage your time and stay focused on your musical aspirations?
How I manage my time with schoolwork is I, set a time. I just sit down, it's quiet space, and I'll probably have my headphones in to
But
listen
you
to
are
music.
homeschooled.
I am homeschooled, yes. And I just sit down and do my work for a good 2, 3 hours, 4 hours, how much I can get done. It's more about like the assignments that I have to get done. And then after that, I'm free to do what I love to do and just write more music, go out to gigs, and just kind of have more open space.
Seems like you have it all planned out. Seems like you have a clear path. Now, what are your long-term goals in the music industry?
My long term goals are just for people to love who I am and like what I do. You know, I would love to get like Taylor Swift famous one day, but as long as I'm making people happy and making people feel like they have a spot in this world, that's what I'm really here for, and that's what I really want people to love about me.
Well, they already love that about you. Okay, you have less than 30 seconds. What
Okay.
advice do you have to other aspiring young musicians?
What advice I have for any aspiring musicians is I would just say go out and do it, give it your all and just really appreciate what you're doing because this is hard work, and I would love for everybody just be proud of what they do, and no matter what you do, just feel the love of everything.
Oh, you are amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
That was the incredible Julia Roome. You definitely have to check her out on the gram at Julia Roome. Talk about gifted and talented. Now, when we talk about gifted and talented, intellectual and physical characteristics of young gifted children that parents are likely to notice include unusual early and fluent speech, early mobility, early reading, unusually retentive memory, intense curiosity, unusual long attention span, eager desire to learn, unusually mature sense of humor, and less need for sleep than age peers of their actual abilities. Now, not all gifted children display all these characteristics, but the possession of a cluster of the characteristics could suggest that your child may indeed be unusually bright. And I can tell you that Julia possesses probably all of those characteristics. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York iHeartRadio. Certainly do check her out at juliaroomsings.com. We'll be right back after this.
'Cause I was hurt when I was told, A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OGPay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OGPay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out OGPay.com.